Good evening, everyone. It is 6:03 p.m., May 20th on a Tuesday, United States Central Time. And as always, so many scary and incredible things are happening around the world. I can't even begin to tell you. But even if I were to start to tell you, we wouldn't give a fuck about any of that, would we, Smokey?
Not at all.
Well, why is that?
Because
You
we got
know?
philosophy.
Oh, that's exactly right. Of course it is. I almost forgot. We're in our perfect philosophy bubble right here in Smokey's Corner. I love it. What are we covering today, Smokey?
Well, before we cover it, we missed a week. How you feeling, Thanasi?
I'm feeling great. How are you feeling, my
Oh,
big old bear?
I feel good. I feel good. I feel good. But just, we were worried about you. We were worried about you.
Wow, that's so sweet. Yeah, no, I need to start making a habit of maybe posting updates on the channel. But yeah, of course, we missed a week and we're back. I was very sick and it pushed it to be late. And then we tried to push it through, but it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So we pushed it back to the next week. But
Yeah.
here we are.
That's the beauty of life.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. I mean, if I died, then we wouldn't be doing it at all. Hopefully, if you started doing it without me, that would hurt my feelings, even in death.
Well, well, I'll tell you, I got this old bear has a general rule of thumb. If it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't worry about it. If it's
I
going to
like that.
matter in 5 years, you probably should concern yourself with it.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
I wish I could have learned that when I was 5.
What
Anyway.
was that, like 1850? Was that about right? In case you guys don't know, this bear is extremely old. In case you can't tell by his manner of articulation. Okay. Well, hey, you know what? I've
Let's get started.
learned a little bit. Let's jump into it. What are we covering?
All right, so we're still in the sort of the precursor to when he starts talking about his categories, but this is we're coming to the end. This is the end, my friend. And so we got one last set of things to talk about. And so this is once again section one, um, part four.
Mm,
And here we go. Expressions which are in no way composite signify substance, quantity, quality, relation, place, time, state, action, or affection. To sketch my meaning roughly, examples of substance are man or horse. Of quantity, such terms as 2 cubits long or 3 cubits long. Of quality, such attributes as white, grammatical. Double, half, greater fall under the category of relation. In a marketplace, in the Lyceum, under that of place. Yesterday, last year, under that of time. Lying, sitting are terms indicating position. Shod, armed, state. To lance, to cauterize, action. To be lanced, to be cauterized, affection. And so oh, got to keep going. Pardon me.
mm.
No one of these terms, in and by itself, involves an affirmation. It is by the combination of such terms that positive or negative statements arise. For every assertion must, as is admitted, be either true or false. Whereas expressions which are not in any way composite, such as man, white, runs, wins, cannot be either true or false. Thus endeth the reading.
Interesting. Okay.
So, first things first, and this is something that has always irritated me about this translation, and really anytime you start to read in philosophy, he starts by saying expressions which are in no way composite. And you got to remember, he said that there are two types of expressions.
Uh, well, there's the ones that are not composite, and then there's the composite.
Right. We
Yeah.
call it simple or composite.
Sure.
But if you go down about three or four, if you go down 4 lines in the middle where he says double, half, greater, fall under the category of relation. Now, what is he started the sentence, he started the paragraph by saying expressions. So now are we talking about categories? Are we talking about expressions?
That's a really good question. I guess this you're calling out some legwork that the reader would have to do for Aristotle here.
Yep.
So to answer your question, I don't know. I guess we would be talking about expressions, but the more complex answer or the guess that I would have is that we're talking about how we categorize expressions. So if expressions
Ah,
is a category, then we would have subcategories that
that's
would
a
be
great answer. That is a great answer. So he gives us 10 expressions that he says are not composite. They cannot be broken down any further.
mm,
Yes,
yeah,
they are atomos. They are the smallest levels, and there's 10 of them. And did we understand the 10?
I think so. I mean, they all seem to make a lot of sense to me.
And he covers things that we use to this day, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Um, I think everybody knows what quantity is, and everybody has heard people use the word quality and
Mm.
relation, how things relate to each other. Under that of place would be like a location. Under that of time, well, that's time. And so in this first paragraph, that's all he says. He says there's 10 ways there are 10 non-composite expressions. Now it gets tricky in the second. It seems simple at first, but it's a little complex. In the second paragraph, he says, by each one of these by themselves cannot involve an affirmation. Yes?
Right.
But then on the next line, he used instead of using the affirmation, he uses assertion.
Oh yeah, he definitely does there. Yeah.
And so this is one of those things that those people that know me, not a fan of synonyms. Because there's a difference between an affirmation and an assertion.
So it's funny that you say that because I didn't read that as a synonym. I read that as two different things that he just didn't define very well. But I
Yep.
read that as that he's talking about assertions, and even initially, and then the assumed meaning that I took it to mean is that he's saying that assertions involve affirmation. But when he says
Oh,
none of these terms in and by itself involves an affirmation, what he's saying is none of these terms are an assertion, and only assertions involve affirmation. That
okay.
that's a lot of legwork that I did for him, but that's how
That
I took
is a lot of legwork. However, there's a problem.
it. Okay.
Not one of these terms involves an affirmation. It is the combination of such terms that positive or negative statements arise. So he's saying affirmations can be either positive or negative. Then he
Okay.
says for every assertion can be either true or false.
That is a synonym that I took. Is that either
So are we
uh,
talking about affirmations or assertions? Are we talking about positive and negative, or are we talking about truth and false?
that's where I got a little confused there. I again to carry like a lot of water form that I would say that these are just breaking down into further subcategories of subcategories. So you would have, you'd have you would have simple expressions and you would have composite expressions. Only composite expressions can be assertions.
Or an
And
affirmation?
I would say assertion, and
Ah,
assertion can be affirmed as either true or false, and that the trueness or falsehood could be that of like positivity or negativity. So something is not something, and that's either true or false, or something is something, and that's either true or false. So
oh,
that it's like a tree. I have a little tree in my head.
yeah, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Can
But
you?
again, that's a lot of work. I don't know if
Okay,
everybody would interpret it that way.
but here it is, over 2,000 years later, and we're still arguing
Sure.
because someone. Can you see how someone else could say, "Well, I have affirmation and I have assertion, and they're sort of on the same level." But then below affirmation, I have an affirmation can be positive or negative, and below assertion, I can have either true or false.
So how would you walk me through how you would understand this in contrast to how I'm understanding this?
So it is two separate ideas. One idea is I wish to make an affirmation. Is the affirmation a positive affirmation or a negative affirmation? Or I wish to make an assertion. Is the assertion either true or is the assertion false?
Oh,
Yeah.
so in that way, I guess that's why my mind didn't go there, is because I don't see any link between these two. Those would like there's no again like if I were to think of these as like a tree, they would that no those are two separate trees with nothing connecting them to each other,
Yep.
so they can't interact at all.
Yep.
Okay, where do you go from there?
Oh, we're gonna get there. We're
Okay,
gonna get. Don't jump ahead.
my bad. I didn't know I was jumping ahead. That's well, I
All
guess it is.
these young cubs jumping ahead,
Okay, the way that you told me, that does not make sense to me.
and that's
Um,
fine.
okay,
But can you see how someone could?
yeah, I think that if somebody were well, I was about to use a word that we probably shouldn't use. If somebody if somebody were taking it very literally, uh, then yeah, I could see where somebody could understand it the way that
And
you're understanding it.
this is the beauty of categories because we have this perception that Aristotle and Socrates and Plato, for people that enjoy philosophy, we have this almost um oh, they are deities,
Hmm.
but they're not. Don't get me wrong. We're not having this conversation without them. They did amazing work, and I respect them uh, without reservation. But they still, when they were writing and they were working these ideas out, and there wasn't this grand clarity that so many people assume that there is. You know, these were people, these were humans, and they were thinking things out, and they were struggling, and hey, their kids were giving them problems, and they were getting yelled at by their boss. Um, and they grew old, and their body became less useful. But they wrote these ideas down, and thank goodness, for thank goodness for the early, the early Rome, the Egyptian civilization, the Roman civilization, the Muslim civilization that kept this alive for us. Because without people holding on to these ideas and holding on to these texts, it's lost. And I'm preaching a little bit, and I apologize,
No, it's
but
okay. There's a difference between learning what somebody wrote and assuming that what they wrote is right.
right.
Those are two
And
different things. This
you are
isn't
looking at history. You are reading somebody's thoughts who has been dead for thousands of years
right.
that still stimulates discussion. Not because we've reified them and turned, as I said, some people they tend to sort of put these people on pedestals. No, don't put them on a pedestal, but at the same time, don't denigrate them for what they've done. These two paragraphs can be used as the focal point for thousands of papers and millions of thoughts. So anyway,
Yeah.
are you ready?
Yeah, let's hop over to the slide. Let's do it.
All right. Let me see. One of these days, I'm going to figure out how to use the wonderful thing called Zoom. Say when.
Oh, I'm ready. Oh, I got it. Yep.
You got it?
Yes, sir.
So, section one, part four, expressions. He begins by identifying his non-composite expressions. Yes?
Yes.
First sentence. This is some good. Now, remember last time I was talking about how it was poor scientific writing?
Yeah.
This is good scientific writing. Well, better. Because that
Yeah, I was
first
about to
sentence,
say.
because in the first sentence, he identifies the 10 expressions. Here,
Right. So there's a little bit of a way to navigate what he's talking about.
yep,
Um, but then he falls into the synonyms, which is
yep.
a problem. Yeah.
And so that first sentence, he just lays out, here are these 10 expressions. And then in the next couple of sentences, he lays out examples of those 10 expressions.
Yeah.
And so for substance, we have man and horse. For quantity, we have 2 cubits and 3 cubits. I won't have a discourse now on how long a cubit is. Quality, we've got white and grammatical relation, double and half, place in a market, in the Lyceum. And then we've got time, position, state, action, affection. Affection. And so that first paragraph lays it out pretty clearly. I'm, and the reality is, if they're all individual, then that means they cannot, in other words, I can't put time in position and I can't put position into state.
Yeah.
I've got to keep them separate. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah.
So we're getting to this idea of what are categories? And is this the category? Because I'm not going to answer the question. Philosophy has questions, very few answers. And then he gives this last statement. He says, one expression cannot give you truth. And I should have written positive or truth, positive, negative, truth, or false.
Sure.
So it's not just truth. It could be false, it could be positive, it could be negative. Yes?
Right.
But one expression cannot give you that. You have to have at least two. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Here's the question. Do you want to extend it and see how it goes? Or do you
Well,
want
let's see here. The one expression uh can't give you truth, but really the one expression you can't decide whether a simple expression is true or not.
yes,
That's how I take it to be.
that's exactly what it means.
Yeah, that's it's not there's not a way to be able to engage with that. You can't you like that's not like as any person trying to engage with a simple expression, that's not an option.
It's just not an
Uh,
option.
and then it becomes an option when you start putting those expressions together.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, let's keep going.
All right, you want to do the last slide?
Let's do it.
All right, I warned you. Because the question that we really have to ask ourselves is, how do I handle that plus sign?
Okay,
Yes?
I guess so. I'm not sure what handle means
How
there,
do
but
I combine my expression?
oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
And so there are at least two ways that we can combine those expressions.
Okay.
One is through looking through multiple lenses, and the second is by collecting values related to those expressions and assigning them a, a value of truth.
Okay. Okay. So when you say through multiple lenses,
Yes.
what are some of these lenses that we could be looking at them through?
So in some research fields, we will say that we see the world through a lens. And
Okay.
that is by viewing the world through a lens, truth can emerge.
So you're saying picking a question and then applying that question to
Yes,
multiple expressions, and
yes,
then with that question tying each of those expressions together, whatever combines there, then you could say that this is it's either going to be positive or negative, and you can make a claim as to whether it's true or not.
yes,
Okay. And then on the other hand, you said applying values. right?
Measures
Applying measures.
that allow you applying measures to these categories to an entity and then saying, I can make the value judgment that it's true.
Okay. That one's a little harder to wrap my head around because that's not necessarily a question. The measure would be
The
just
measure is what the measure is.
right, whatever measure, whatever tool you want to use. But what would be a measure in that way?
So for example, something like height.
Okay.
I assign to you your height. Yes, you don't have a height.
Yeah.
We got to get an instrument. We assume that the instrument is valid and we measure your height.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, the other way would be to take one simple expression and then start basically mashing it against other expressions and then
Yeah,
seeing,
yeah. And you're viewing each one because you can't combine them, right?
right. So then you view each one as their own and then see if there's any commonality between each. So like you take height, which would be what would that be? Would that be quality if that was right?
That'd be quantity.
That would be quantity. Yeah, so that would be
But
quantity.
you can turn it into a quality if you think about it.
Sure, but we don't have to go that far just yet.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we take one, we pick quality, right? And we go with height. And then we take height, which is a quality, and then we mash it or sorry, quantity, and then we mash it against substance, and then we mash it against station, and then we mash it against uh uh um quality. And then each of those we're going to get some sort of positive or negative
Statement
expression. Or
that we
sorry,
make. We make
yeah,
an affirmation.
right. And then we
Because
can
because of these qualities, because of these quantities, because of these substances, we have a truth, we have an assertion of truth.
sure.
Whereas on the right hand side, we're saying with this measure, with this quantity, with this quality, there is truth.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, once again, these ideas are in here, and he's going to actually elucidate some of these ideas moving forward.
I hope so. That would be nice because this is really, really, really ethereal. Like there's almost nothing to grasp onto right now.
This stuff is not easy. This stuff, it is only the fool who believes they can read something the first time and get it. Um, this is my sixth or seventh time through this book, and I still learn.
Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't even have any real like clarifying questions going from here. We just have to keep pushing forward.
Now, I
Uh,
will admit, starting with the next part, life gets a little more complicated.
as long as there's more material to like grab onto to be able to like connect. Like I need some like tissue or something. I need something to be able to like grab onto.
He's
Um,
yeah, starting with part five, he starts into the meat. He starts going into examples, which you seem to enjoy.
well, it's just examples are grounding. That's all.
Right.
And when it's hard to look at something if it's just floating around, you know.
Yeah, no, no, no.
It's like trying to take the measure of like a gas versus like freezing it. Once you freeze it, then it's a lot easier to evaluate it because it's like sitting there, right? But
Yes,
when
but
it's
then
like floating around and shit, and that's how it is. That may be how it is like in nature, but then it's just so much harder to evaluate. It's like an electron, you know. Anyway, you get
okay, Heisenberg.
okay. But you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes, you
All
are
right.
you are basically stating Heisenberg's uncertainty principle in a social setting.
Pretty, yeah. I mean, it's just really difficult to be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at because every time I look at it, it's not what it was last time I looked at
No,
it.
hey,
Driving me nuts.
here. Do you want to hear a anecdote from earlier this week working with someone?
Sure.
I told them, I said, listen, by the time you finish writing your dissertation, the cruel trick of writing a dissertation is this. By the time you finish writing it, it's wrong.
Yeah, I believe that because it's an ever changing state. So, and you're trying to prevent that, and you can't. In fact, all that you're doing is you're just making a claim about what it was at the time that you were writing it.
Yes. And it's a very difficult thing for some people to get across because they become very focused on truth. What I am writing is true.
I guess, like as an analogy, I would say that like, there's like a train going down some train tracks, right? And you are making a claim about the train at a specific point of the rail, right? As it's going down like the tracks, so like a specific point of the tracks. And by the time you finish whatever you're saying about the train's now at a further point on the tracks and is engaging with something else.
Right.
So it's not that what you're saying isn't true anymore. It's just that the it's not true now.
Now, here's the question then that you then have to really struggle with. Then does that mean it wasn't worth it?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people walk away from PhDs and studying things specifically because
That
of that.
is true. That is true. But I would
But
argue that the point of completing a dissertation isn't writing the dissertation, it's completing the dissertation.
yeah, that's if I were to brainstorm whether it's worth it or not, or reasons why it could be worth it, that would be one. I think another one would be that once you get through your head that knowledge and understanding are two different things,
Yep.
that the knowledge is the one thing where it's like, oh, this train was this thing, whatever, interacting with this point of the train track. It's further down the train track. And they may not be relevant, you could say,
Sure.
anymore because now the train's down there. But your understanding of how the train works with tracks
Yes.
has grown. And that's helpful, even if it's not in a way that's easily measurable.
And now you are a 19th century American philosopher. Wow, you are just all over the place.
I like jumping around. You know this. Okay, well okay. I'm gonna think about this and I'll bring it back around to what we just covered just now over the week, and hopefully that'll help me ground things out a little bit more when we move forward.
Well, I'm going to head back to my forest and see what's to eat in the den.
Okay, that sounds great. Enjoy whatever you got to eat there, and I will see you again next Tuesday. Everybody will be posting this on Thursday on time, 6 p.m. Please like and subscribe. We'd love that. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email us or leave a comment down below the video. That'd be great. Thank you, everybody. Smokey, you got anything else to say?
I'm good. Thank you, sir.
Of course. Yeah. All right. See you guys.
Later.